Brandon, you are up first, sir. Hello.
Hey, Bart, how are you?
How's it going, Brandon? And
Good.
you have a hand here from what's the size of the game?
Sure. So this is gonna be Mohegan Sun 2-5, and it's full ring.
So, what's the buy-in cap in this game?
So it is now 1,000. For a while, it was 800. But about a year or so ago, they upped it up to 1,000.
So it's 1,000 cap. Lately, I've heard a lot of people say it's a good room. It's better than Foxwoods.
It's not bad. There's a lot to do there from like an entertainment. Me and my wife go there a lot to do. We go to shows, and the poker's usually pretty good. A lot of game selections. Yeah, if you ever get a chance, I definitely head out.
Okay. All right. So 2-5 at Mohegan Sun, 1K cap. And how deep are you?
We are 1,500 effective.
All right. So kind of deep, 1,500 effective. Okay.
All right, so pre-flop, there's an early position limp for $5. I'm next to act in early position. I have ace of clubs, king of clubs, and I make a live misclick and only limp $5 because of the one chip rule. So I put a green $25 chip in, but forgot to say raise, so it only stood as $5.
So, I mean, you playing this game a lot, right? That was just a brain fart or what?
Yeah, so usually I raise with the $5 chips. My standard raise is 20, and yeah, pretty much. No excuse.
Misclicks. Did anybody say, is that a raise? Is that a call?
The table was aware that I meant to raise, and it's like they know I wanted to raise, but it's a limp.
So you limp. Okay.
And then the villain on the button raises to $30.
Okay.
Just a little quick background: he's a good friend of mine, and he's also a CLP subscriber, and he's a very big winner in the game.
So he's a very big winner. Do you think that he thought that you were trying to raise?
He absolutely knew I was. He absolutely knew I wanted to raise. Yep.
Because I mean, obviously the way that this sets up is like if it's an accidental limp somehow, and people don't know it. I mean, I'm not one for limp re-raising, but it kind of sets up as a limp re-raise. But now you're saying this guy's raising you anyways, even though you wanted to raise. So, if I'm on the button and everybody knows that there's a guy that meant to raise and it was called, I mean, I might take some playable hands that I would have raised and just over limp with them if they were hands that I wasn't necessarily going to 3-bet. So that should still be a strong range, I would think, if he knew that you were going to raise.
Correct. Exactly. Definitely for sure.
All right. So he makes it 30. Yep.
All right. So then the original limper folded. Then it gets back to me, and kind of as you suspected, I put in the limp re-raise to $125.
All right. So you do it anyways.
Of course. So absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is not something that comes up every day. I just wonder if sometimes I might just call here just because if he knew you were going to raise, I mean, obviously your hand is strong enough to raise, but if you knew you were going to raise anyways, and he raised, I mean, I guess you could almost consider it like, I guess, a 3-bet, the raise. So if you were on a 4-bet with ace king suited, then limp re-raising's fine. I don't know what you would have done with ace king offsuit, but that's maybe how you look at it.
Yeah, in game, I told myself ace king offsuit, I probably would mix between limp re-raising and just flatting.
Okay.
But with the suited, I think this is just a re-raise all day.
All right, so you're kind of like treating like a 4-bet. All right, so you limp re-raise to 125. Okay.
Yep, and villain calls.
Call. All right, so the pot's probably like 250, 260, 255, something like that.
255 is what I have. Yep.
Okay.
All right, and then the flop comes king of diamonds, 7 of spades, 3 of spades.
King of diamonds, 7 of spades, 3 of spades. You flop top pair, 2 spades out there on the board.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I bet for small. I go $80.
So hero bet's 80. So why did you decide to go so small here?
I just feel like I pretty much have a lock on this hand. I mean, the board smashes me so hard. It's pretty disconnected. And kind of going back to pre-flop, I think that his raising range from that position is going to be a bit stronger. So I kind of want to keep him in the hand, and that's why. And I also know that I might be able to get more value on later streets, as we'll see. And
I mean, the thing is that, like, again, if I put myself in your villain spot, if you say he was a big winner in the game and he knows what's going on, I mean, those might be hands that I would over limp if I knew someone accidentally limped in front of me that was going to raise, like 7s and 3s. I'm talking about the ones that you lose to, right? 7s and 3s specifically. So that does not concern me that he's got a set of 7s or 3s for that reason. Now, the only thing I would say here, though, is if you go 1/3 versus going 2/3 here, I mean, I don't think that pairs like say like nines plus are just going to fold to 2/3 anyways. So it's a little bit of an interesting dynamic because it's very, very hard for you not to have the best hand here with this setup. I don't think he's got, I mean, maybe once in a while he's got king king, the one combo of king king, but I don't think he's got sevens and threes. So I just think that, you know, a hand like ace queen isn't gonna, I mean, really shouldn't be calling here anyways to the limp re-raise, ace queen off. So I don't know if you're going to get light calls. I just think that 2/3 you're still going to get the same calling range here as 1/3. That's just my take off the cuff.
Definitely. And I actually kind of go back to treating this like a 4-bet. In my head, I am treating this as a 4-bet, and I just think my whole range on this board is just going to bet small anyway. So I kind of just thought about it like that. So I'm kind of on autopilot when I do this.
Okay. Well, the pot's not as big as a 4-bet though, but okay. I mean, you're 1,500 deep, so you bet 80. Okay.
Then the turn comes.
So he calls.
Oh, he calls. Yes. Yep.
He button calls. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And then the turn is the 4 of diamonds.
4 of diamonds turn. Okay.
And here I size up a bit. I go 200.
So you say you size up and bet 200?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of like a half-ish pot size bet here. That's why I would have probably bet a little bit larger here on the flop. So you go 200, which is usually not a sizing that's necessarily reflected. Again, this is just a situation where I would like to be trying to put as much money in here as possible because I think it's very difficult for you not to have the best hand. I'm not scared of any hands here at all with this backstory. Him not having sevens, him not having threes, 5, 6. I don't know. Why would somebody raise that if they knew the guy tried to raise in front of them? That's what I'm saying. Like, this was a classic, like almost like a live node lock where you take some hands that just wouldn't be in somebody's range based upon what's kind of happened here in a wacky scenario. Like, you shouldn't have any of that stuff. I wouldn't think. Once in a while it's possible, but why would a guy try to ISO 5, 6 when somebody ahead of him was going to raise anyways? It doesn't make any sense. So it's very difficult for me to factor how you don't have the best hand here. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean usually on rivers, you kind of try to figure out the guy's range, but I would just be putting some more money in here, and I'd probably go 250 to 300, just a little bit larger here. Again, you know, if you take that type of sizing, I guess if you're trying to get called by like nines through queens here, possibly 200 might get called more often than 300. But if he knows what's going on here too, he's going to have to defend down a little bit lighter as well. So you go 200, okay.
And then he goes a bit into the tank, and he's, you know, you can definitely tell he's pondering. And then he goes through his chips. He's checking inventory on his chips. And then he verbally jams all in for about 1,300.
Button moves all in for 1,300.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So the pot is going to be, after your 200, it's 1915 and it's 1,100 for you to call. Well, if this was a regular hand, this would be much, much closer. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Or it was like a single raise pot or something like that. But if you're going to treat this as a 4-bet pot, how do you ever fold here? I mean, the only thing, the things that you lose to are kings and aces. Like if you were to actually treat this as a 4-bet pot. But again, I almost think that the range might even be a little bit stronger than that, in the sense of, I just don't know. But you think that the guy knows that you meant to raise. I mean, that's what I am going off of in this hand. If we truly believe that, I don't think that he has many hands here, if any, that beat you. Besides maybe him calling with aces to your limp re-raise, or him having the one set of kings that are left combos wise because of that backstory, like a live sort of quirky little backstory. And I don't even know if he would do this with king king here, just jam all in with king king maybe. But I don't know. I mean, if that is truly what you feel like he knows that you meant to raise, he raised anyways, you limp re-raised, and now he called, why should he ever have 7, 7, 3, 3, 4, 4, or 5, 6 here? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, like I said, if it was a regular type of hand, it would be much, much closer. But again, yes, he might have ace, but obviously you block that. And again, I don't know if he necessarily jams here, maybe. But if he's a winning player, though, maybe this is of some concern here. Now you've got ace, king of clubs, and the board is king of diamonds, 7 of spades, 3 of spades. So king X of spades is available, but you throw in that quirk where he's a winning player. So there's kind of a couple of different dynamics going on here. If he actually knows what's going on, I'm having a hard time coming up with a hand here that he would jam, unless he thinks that you overfold and he might have something like ace, 5 of spades or something like that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think the general Mohegan 2-5 population absolutely overfolds, for sure.
How to Win says Hero's hand is face up. In my opinion, we're beat more often than we think. I mean, we're beat by king, and ace. True. But that would just be a massive deviation here to fold, given this backstory. I feel like, given the backstory. So when did it end up happening?
All right, so I go into the tank for a while, for about 5 minutes, because this is a huge bet, even for 2-5, absolute size. And it's a massive bet. I verbally start talking to him. I go, dude, you're not representing a whole lot. I said the same thing to him that you just mentioned. And I'm hemming and hawing. And then eventually, he doesn't say anything. And he's very stoic. And I eventually stick it in.
So Hero calls.
Yep. And he flips. Oh, do you want me to give you the reveal?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, so he flips over Jack 10 of diamonds.
Jack 10 of diamonds for the back door. So Jack 10 of diamonds. I mean, that's another thing that we didn't I kind of washed over a little bit. I washed over this a little bit in the fact that you bet so small on the flop that some of those sort of backdoorish types of hands are there. So yeah, I mean, some of those backdoor types of hands are there, so maybe that's why he ends up with that type of hand there. I mean, because you bet so small, he's got, through to a backdoor and backdoor flush and backdoor straight, but I don't know why he would just all of a sudden jam turn with that particular hand. So what we're really looking at here is, because of the small sizing, like the queen jack of diamonds type of holding, some sort of backdoor. So he just has a naked flush draw. I mean, he didn't pick up a backdoor straight draw either.
Right. Well, he told me after the fact the reason why he jammed this hand because he knew he had no chance with the SPR to bluff on the river because of the SPR.
Why can't he just call and try to realize his equity here on the backdoor diamond side? I mean, you don't necessarily see it.
Right.
I mean, you're betting 200 into a pot of 415. He's getting 3-1 in immediate odds. This is one of the small stakes, Crush Live Poker small stakes exploits that we talk about, that people actually sometimes undervalue the math of draws. And I know that you're not necessarily always going to get paid off. He only needs 4-1 in immediate odds. He's getting 3-1. Now, if you don't have a set and you bet 200 into 415, he's calling 200 to win 615. He only needs to win $800 with one card to come by the end of the hand. He's already winning 615. Now, if you bet 2 into 415 and he calls, the pot's going to be 815. He only needs to bet 200 or more and get called for that to be a profitable play. And it's on the backdoor side too, which makes it even more valuable because a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, he can't have like king X of diamonds. So I don't know why he wouldn't just take, maybe he read your bet size as weak, but I'm a little bit surprised. And again, I question whether I think you said he was a CLP subscriber. Did you write in the email too that he could have called in this hand too or something?
Yeah, he'd be happy to jump on, yeah. I don't know if he's available now.
No, I'm just saying that but you think that he definitely knew what was going on in terms of what your raise was.
Yeah.
Like that it was a raise.
Absolutely. He was, and I 100% believe it because he's a really good friend of mine. So I definitely believe him for sure.
And then, not that it matters, but what was the result?
It bricked out and I held and I got all his money. It was awesome.
So that's a pretty big pot, right?
Yeah, definitely for a 2-5 game. It's definitely one of the bigger pots I've ever won at Mohegan for sure. So yeah, it was nice to win that one. And also, as a long-term image, showed the rest of the game that I'm not afraid to put the money into because it was a couple of weeks ago and after the fact, people were surprised I called the quote-unquote one pair. So it was nice to win that one for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one pair, but I mean, I think we had already sort of I had jumped to the conclusion that it would have been very, very difficult for you to not have the best hand here unless he was trapping you with aces or kings. But again, that's an interesting one. Yeah, absolutely. Nice hand. And by the way, too, to go along with this, I hope that you extended your session out, because when you're playing in a cap game and you get a lot of chips in front of you, I think that goes a long way to actually increasing your win rate in that individual session. I mean, maybe if you're you're playing with all regs, but when I used to play day in, day out full time, if I had a session where I won a big pot like this and I had a lot of chips in a cap game, I would definitely try to stay as long as possible, as long as the game was good, because I absolutely believe that table image is a factor in live poker, and that the more chips in front of you in a capped game, the higher your win rate will go up, the more you will win. And that's a function of being able to win more sort of non-shown down hands, because people will be trying to stay away from you. It's a real thing in live poker that shouldn't necessarily be underestimated.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I did play, but I can only play once a week now because I just had a baby, so I play when I can. So yeah, I did play a bit.
Yeah. All right, Brandon, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.